How are you?
Very well.
Yeah, I'm very good.
Okay. Well, before we get to the album, first, Andrew, do you remember first hearing of Boxer Rebellion?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I remember the first time was when a good friend of mine who's Dutch, Christoph van der Ven, from Boekel, he told me, oh, yeah, we got the opportunity to support this band called the Boxer Rebellion, and then he showed me some stuff, and I guess you could say I was a fan.
Yeah. Right.
What was your first impression?
I really liked the mood of the music when I first heard it. I think I saw a couple of videos on YouTube, and I really liked the lyrics and the guitar effects and things like this. I've never been asked this question before. But then when we were actually on tour supporting the guys originally, which is how I met them, I was really blown away by the live show. I liked the recorded stuff, but the live show was fantastic.
What made the live show so different?
Sorry?
What made the live show different from what you heard on the record?
Because there's something kind of melancholic maybe about the recorded stuff, but it becomes like explosively melancholic. Is it like suicidal? No, not really. It becomes like
oral sadness.
It's like melancholy, but with like really energetic, and so I think it's that like it doesn't stick like some bands do that stick to a kind of a certain level. It kind of just it really explodes in some places and then comes down low for the sweeter moments, and that was I don't know. I think back then when I was on tour, I thought, well, they really got it sorted texturally.
And Nathan, what was your first impression of Andrew?
Really fucking tall.
Really tall. Get that out.
No, way taller than me. No, well, we didn't really talk a hell of a lot. Well, for the first few dates, I think, and then
when he says dates, he means like tour dates.
I do.
Yeah, tour dates. Yeah. One of my first impressions was hearing you sound check the not that acoustic, but an acoustic guitar, and thinking, "Wow, you're way better than me." Yeah, that was one of my first impressions, and then the second impression was that a lot of women fancy Andrew. He's the heartthrob band.
That was one of your first impressions.
No, I'm just saying that now. Yeah. Yeah. It's not gonna be Piers, is it?
Hey, you know.
I hope he sees that. I want him.
Different strokes, different folks.
But so when you were looking for a new guitarist, was he the first name that popped into your head?
He was the only. Yeah.
Okay.
I guess it had been 5 months since or 6 months since Christoph had played or supported us, and then we played with Christoph again. We did another tour, but he only he did it solo. So at the end of that tour, that's kind of when Todd left. So and I don't know why. I think actually Piers, our drummer, had kind of suggested Andrew, and yeah, it kind of worked out super easy. Yeah. That's really bad at English, but it worked out really well, and it was very easy. That's what I'm trying to say.
But so when Todd kind of announced that he would leave, was that a surprise to you? Was there a moment where you thought?
No, it was kind of a mutual thing. Okay. It wasn't. I mean, Todd. He just got married to a girl in the States.
Right.
Who's still married to Jessica, and he was over there a lot, and so it just kind of felt like a natural thing. So yeah, there was no. We're still on really great terms with Todd. I mean, we saw him when we were recording the album actually, and he's got his thing, and he's working hard on. He's doing documentaries. And he's working on a documentary with Augustines, and so he's super busy with that.
And creatively, because I believe he left right after the previous album was released.
No, it was. I mean, it was about a year
Okay.
after, pretty much almost to the day. So we had kind of played quite a few tours, and it actually was the timing in retrospect was good because we were just starting to write this album, and so that meant Andy was involved from the beginning, and so we did do touring, we did do festivals, but it worked out really well timing wise.
What was that like for you, Andrew, when you came into the process kind of right when they were starting to get their creative gears going?
Yeah, it was interesting. It was a pretty unique situation, to be honest. I'd never been in that situation before. It was something that I realised just in talking about it today, actually. We were talking earlier that it really helped in the initial stages, coming into the studio, getting to know, even like the equipment and things like that, getting to know how that was going to fit into the band was a pretty unique experience, but thinking, okay, I'm going to learn all of Todd's parts. And we did 2 gigs at the place called The Scala in London, which is kind of like a real kind of fans gig where we played songs from all 4 albums. And that was like my 5th gig. So I had to learn about 35 songs or something. And yeah, and that was a bit of a, learning all the pedal changes and all the technical kind of things. That was a real challenge, an enjoyable challenge, but deconstructing all those musical parts on the guitar and the keys and learning the backing vocals was a bit of a challenge. But then that gave me a real good kind of understanding of where Todd was coming from and where the guys were coming from, because it's not like I just kind of heard the band before and then we were going to write together. It's like, okay, heard the band, learn pretty much all the parts, well, all the guitar parts to all the songs, and then kind of having that base knowledge of what the band's all about. It's almost like doing research in a way, like in another field, how that would be, and then everyone feeling comfortable enough with each other to go ahead and then be creative, because you have to be a bit, if you don't know somebody and you just met them for the first time, to like say, oh, I've got this idea, is quite tough,
Were you building up to that moment?
Not really. I mean, I think that I'd done, it's not like I'd never done original music before. I've written stuff in the past in other projects and that kind of stuff, and the guys knew about that. And from my point of view, it's like I trusted in their decisions and stuff like that, and I think they did in mine. And it was just a case of like getting all the ingredients to fit, really, which came, it's from the start it was fine, but then like as the months went on, it really began to just happen quickly. Like I knew the kind of things I wanted to lay down, so did these guys, and then it became a process of reacting to each other's parts and stuff, and it was just, it was only enjoyable, the whole thing. It just became more and more comfortable, but it was only ever enjoyable.
And Nathan, for you, obviously every time there is a lineup change, the dynamic changes a little bit. So in terms of the sound, do you hear a big difference between this album and the previous work?
Well, we have a certain sound, and we didn't want to just like start from scratch, because we don't want to alienate people that are into us and have been for a long time, and we also like that. I mean, that's kind of what we've gone for. So there is a bit of balance of trying to maintain that, but not sound like we're just retreading old ground, or Andy's trying to rip off Todd, because Todd was a big part of this band, and he always will be, and he had a specific sound. So it's trying not to just replicate that. But I think somehow, I mean, we didn't really think about it too much. We just kind of did what we did, and that's what we do on every album. Never really overthought it. and it kind of always ends up the way it ends up. Because I feel like if you just do what you're doing, the fact that time has gone by is going to change the sound of an album anyway.
Sure.
If you think too much about it, you may just go back into old habits, or you may overthink it. And by the fact, I mean, I guess the last one was written in 2012. So, you know, we all go through things. We all change. So just that can't help but change how a record's made.